Well, eminent domain arises from the Constitution, Article 5 of the Constitution, which is the takings clause, stating that the government can take private land. However, there's two things that are required: that it's provided for with just compensation and that it's for the public use.
Eminent domain is not only a controversy now. In 1967, the city moved nearly 1,000 families out of Seward Park. Residents were given 2 months to leave. After promising to deliver better low-income housing, the project was abandoned. All that was left were vacant lots and hundreds without homes. Today, empty tracks and parking lots are what remain of communities where immigrants and the poor once existed. Renewal and investment in the area are no longer focused on the needs of the working class. High-rises that are being built are way out of the ranges for those from low-income backgrounds. This failure of proper execution of eminent domain further plagues our system today.
The term public use, I think, has moved farther and farther away from the original intent of the founders of in the Constitution of the Takings Clause. And I think that ultimately provides less protection for private landowners and renters and anybody else, allowing the government, when it deems it wants, that it can come and take land for the interests of those who are very wealthy and very well connected, under this guise that they're going to provide economic development. Ultimately it's for those private individuals' benefit that they're taking this action. They're not doing it for the general welfare of the people. That's not their primary concern. Their primary concern is their bottom dollar and their investment, otherwise they would not be getting involved in the project. So I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's unfair that the court has gone in the direction that it's gone.
The deal for making the Brooklyn Nets Stadium is done. For small businesses in the area, the Atlantic Yards project is a nightmare. The local pub, the friendly candy shop on the corner, the deli with delicious buttered bagels. Places that have served the community for decades are being forced shut. The greatest tragedy is that most people in the community have no idea what is happening. If you look at other projects by Forest City Ratner, such as Metrotech, they've often excluded the public community and preserved the interests of only the private entities that created them.
The idea that the state could take land and give it to a private developer, that I think creates problems in terms of issues of transparency, in terms of democracy, in terms of process. And I think it puts poor communities in a more vulnerable position to their land being taken away. I think, though, that arena could have been built over the rail yards without having to take away the private property of local residents. I think it could have been done without destroying the community in the process. But using eminent domain to take over private property, I think, is a problem. I also think, just in terms of how Atlantic Yards was developed, I don't think that the planning of Atlantic Yards really took into account traffic implications. I don't think there was a real extensive environmental impact study that really looked at the implications of having a mixed-use area, residential and commercial, at what is reputed to be the most trafficked intersection in the borough.
On the other hand, real estate is going to go up. It's going to be very expensive. And it's going to change the whole community. I mean, kind of, especially the neighboring community, into we're going to commercialize the whole community.
You know if they're going to do anything?
It's not going to have that neighborhood feel that you have about Brooklyn before.
While the future of Atlantic Yards is much more grim, there is still much hope in the case of Columbia University. The community board in the neighborhood has its own plans for the area that the city also approves. Most recently, the state appeals court rejected Columbia's attempt at seizing Manhattanville, yet the battle in the court will likely continue. As New Yorkers, we must stand up to protect our rights. 43 states have already placed restrictions on eminent domain. Together, let's make New York the 44th to do so.